Review code provided by Square Enix. Thank you so very much for this opportunity and for the recognition of our efforts to bring the hype and share the love for Final Fantasy. And just like everything that one feels strongly about, I have opinions. This is my honest review of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII launched as a PSP exclusive nearly 15 years ago and remained the only way to experience the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. Now, the remaster is finally here and available on all platforms for a welcoming price tag of $49.99. But this isn't just a simple up-res to HD port of the original game, and to recite the marketing tagline, Crisis Core Reunion is more than a remaster. Mostly, Square delivers on that promise in truly impressive ways that modernizes the experience through both updated visuals and reworked gameplay, but it is important to properly manage your expectations as the PSP DNA is unmistakably present. An FFTV review is made up of 5 pillars: gameplay, story, audio, visuals, and lasting appeal. First of all, if you have played through the original Crisis Core in 2007 and were a fan, boy, oh boy, are you in for a real treat. The updated combat system is leaps and bounds better, playing more akin to Final Fantasy VII Remake, complete with weapon stance changes and command shortcuts. Although it doesn't quite have the fluidity and style of Remake, the battles are fun and engaging as you no longer have to cycle through the commands like magic, items, and even attacking. With Reunion, it's just items that are easily accessible on that menu bar using the triggers to cycle through, while attacking is assigned to its own button, and whoa! The rumble feels great. Each hit feels weighty and impactful, especially the critical hits from behind an enemy. Magic and abilities are set to those shortcuts. You can customize your shortcut loadouts and swap between them with your unique setups in the menu. Before battling Ifrit, I swapped over to my fire enemy based set that had Blizzard magic and the Blizzard sword ability, along with a fire ring equipped to have fire damage. After the battle, it was as simple as swapping back to my all-around equipment set. This is not only a welcoming addition to Crisis Core, but really a necessity that all future Final Fantasy VII Remake titles should implement. Speaking of a system that Rebirth may bring in from Crisis Core is Materia Fusion. This allows the player to produce a new materia from countless combinations. For example, simple fusions of fire and blizzard make thunder. But how about thunder and silence to make an entirely new materia called Dark Thunder that deals lightning damage but also poisons and silences the enemy, cure plus regen to get Curaga, and so many more fun experiments to test out. Now, we can't talk Crisis Core battle system without talking about the pachinko machine known as the Digital Mind Wave, DMW for short. If you have played the PSP game, you know that this was a major hindrance to the flow of battle and would oftentimes completely interrupt the action to display a sequence of images or cutscenes. This has been fixed and improved to the point that I actually very much enjoy it now. I never, ever thought I'd say that. Even if you are not familiar with the original version, I think you, too, will enjoy what the DMW has to offer. It will continuously spin in the top left corner of the screen, and if images and numbers line up, good things happen. And yes, this is a totally random thing, and there will be times where you survive a battle simply because you got lucky, and the DMW granted you brief immunity to all attacks, or allowed you to use magic without expending any MP. Also, limit breaks no longer automatically trigger after a successful match. Instead, they are stored for the player to activate at a more opportune moment of their choosing. This adds a layer of strategy over the randomness of the DMW. I played on hard mode, and I think that you will get a better experience on this difficulty if you are looking for more strategic depth to battles and better utilizing the DMW. It never felt punishing to play either, as long as you are completing missions which, as Final Fan Wrecked Player put it, quote, now it is actually fun to fight and fun to do the side missions, end quote. After acquiring the Buster Sword, combat improves greatly and kind of reinvigorated the excitement of battle midway through the game. The gameplay outside of battle has also improved, now with full control over the camera. And for a game that intentionally made each area and mission short enough to complete on the go, the addition of a dash button really has Zack zipping through levels. With that point being made, don't expect fully fleshed out environments that were featured in Remake. Each area is very basic in level design. After all, this is technically still a remaster. But what the teams at TOSE and Square Enix have done is highly commendable and deserves praise. They have set a new standard for how older games should be brought to modern platforms and new audiences. I will not spoil anything for Crisis Core Reunion at this part of the review. At the very end of the video, I will confirm with a simple yes or no whether or not there are story changes, as I know that is a big question among fans, especially after the surprising twists of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Some slight original Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake spoilers ahead though. If you are a fan of the original Crisis Core, well, you know exactly what to expect here. Crisis Core takes place several years before the events of Final Fantasy VII and leads right up to the moment Cloud rides the train into Sector 1 Station to bomb Mako Reactor 1. What makes this an interesting time to re-release Crisis Core is the fact that it effectively reveals the mysteries of Final Fantasy VII, which means Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's big revelation will most likely not be about this anymore. So if you've only played Final Fantasy VII Remake and you wondered if Crisis Core Reunion is a must-play, my answer is a resounding yes, absolutely. This remaster even uses the same abbreviation of FF7R, and to me, that signifies it is very much an integral part of the FF7R saga. The characters introduced in this game are bound to make an impact in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and in Part 3. We even see signs of this in the reveal trailer for Rebirth that only once you play through Crisis Core, you'll actually understand. So this works in Crisis Core Reunion's favor, but unlike the Buster Sword, this is a double-edged sword. Square has done a fantastic job in almost every aspect of updating the original Crisis Core, except in this category that objectively needed it the most. The dialogue at times can be very corny and melodramatic, but there's moments that are undeniably hype, funny, impactful, and beautiful. Crisis Core offers some of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII's greatest moments. I mean right up there with the original game's best moments. The story is just wacky. But hey, that could be a very good thing for you depending on what you're hoping to get out of this, because you're going to get it all. With that said, I do enjoy the lightheartedness and levity blended with the serious tones. I mean, moments like this are just pure fun.
And Jill! And Jill!
And this happens immediately after a pretty heavy scene. Zack is the embodiment of all this. He is out there to have a good time. He can be a bit overconfident, but man, he just wants to be a hero. He cracks jokes, he flirts, he really cares about his friends. There's a reason why a lot of fans love him. Crisis Core introduces some notable new characters such as Angeal, who acts as a mentor to Zack and is connected to the legacy of the Buster Sword. This game's main villain, Genesis, is divisive among the fandom, not only for his extreme melodrama, reciting the poem Loveless at any given moment, but also because of his involvement in the original story of FF7. Yet regardless of how I personally feel about the role he plays, he makes Crisis Core Reunion a required reading because of his inevitable importance. Speaking of Final Fantasy VII villains though, Sephiroth's fall from grace is on full display. It begins at a time when Sephiroth is a hero to all. Witness Sephiroth as he reminisces about having fun with his friends and even cracks a genuine smile. He apologizes to people. He cares deeply about his friends Angeal and Genesis. Sephiroth in Crisis Core is the Anakin before Vader. You'll get to experience Sephiroth's descent into madness through the eyes of Zack. And this is precisely what the core of the crisis is in the story. So it's no surprise that its best moments are when Sephiroth is in focus. Final fan Drakey C agrees their favorite thing about the story of Crisis Core Reunion was, quote, seeing Sephiroth's transformation from a likable and nuanced figure into a maniacal and deranged villain, end quote. I do really wish, though, that they would have added more to the brotherhood between Zack and Cloud with this opportunity to retell the story. Crisis Core on PSP had one of my favorite endings in all of video games. I suppose in the end, Angeal is right.
No story is not worth hearing.
What?
The overall graphics of the game to the user interface have been updated to closely match the quality of Final Fantasy VII remakes. Final Fan Warrior of Light writes in saying, quote, graphics and playing it on the big screen finally is amazing, end quote. The animations during gameplay and combat have been significantly improved to be a bit more modernized, but the robotic movements and about-face turns and repeated gestures remain untouched in Crisis Core Reunion's cutscenes. If you're coming in fresh off of a Final Fantasy VII Remake playthrough, this is going to be kind of a mind trip, because visually, Reunion looks like Final Fantasy VII Remake, only the cutscenes haven't evolved since the PS2 era. And it's not only the animation, but the sometimes awkward presentation of the cutscenes as well, like this.
Welcome, partner.
Then there's the original PSP full motion videos, FMVs, that are run through an AI upscaler. The FMVs used for the summons have been completely remade and are magnificent. But okay, right now you're saying,
Come on, man.
you get it, it's a remaster. But it's just another thing that seems to add to this review's recurring criticism of inconsistency. Thankfully, when it comes to the overall visuals, the scales are heavily weighted on the positive side, as it truly does look stunning most of the time. They have carried the original code into Unreal Engine 4, so combat is just as flashy as Remake with lots of awesome effects, and the environments are clearly utilizing assets taken from Remake. And outside of Midgar, well, Crisis Core Reunion gives us a first glimpse at what to expect in Rebirth, as I'm sure there will continue to be shared assets between the games. That in itself is extremely exciting to me. The entire soundtrack has been reworked by the original composer Takaharu Ishimoto. There's a wide range of genres, all blended from rockin' out with heavy distortion to piano melodies, banjo plucking to anime singing. This all does manage to come together in a satisfying way. The remastered tracks are not on the level of the fully orchestrated, bombastic soundtrack of Remake. Reunion's music is more faithful to the original work. Final Fan cosplayer from Midgar says, quote, the main theme always play in the right moments. The Price of Freedom still makes me cry every time I hear it, end quote. To add to that, I absolutely love the piano theme playing at the title screen. I actually put the controller down once and just closed my eyes and let it play. But then it slaps you in the face with metal, and I love that too. I do wish it was more dynamic to match what was happening on screen though.
He worked so hard to return the debt. He eventually died of fatigue.
Not a pixel left untouched when modernizing and optimizing a better battle system. So this...
Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved. Activating combat mode.
Bring it up.
Conflict resolved. Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved.
This was a conscious decision made to allow it to carry over into Reunion. But hey, the entire game is now fully voiced. No more text box only dialogue. It is very difficult to convince a fan who has established a definitive voice for a character in their mind. Pierce faces this near impossible challenge just as the voice actors of Remake had to overcome a few years ago. And they did it, so did Pierce. It wasn't convincing at first. There's a dissonance between the delivery of lines between Zack's original voice actor, Rick Gomez, and Reunion's Caleb Pierce, but he does tighten up his performance just a few chapters in though. It wasn't a gradual improvement, it just suddenly was outright better. From that point on, I grew accustomed to his voice as Zack. I especially applaud Pierce for his performance as an older, more weathered and sincere Zack near the end of the game. Overall, it was just kind of inconsistent, but it's good that by the end of the game, Caleb Pierce did achieve the impossible. He's our new Zack. The original PSP game offered New Game Plus, and that's no different in Reunion. Carrying over Zack's level and materia equipment, items, and gil, you'll have to earn back things like specific DMW characters and the Buster Sword though through normal story progression. Other than that, New Game Plus offers really nothing new. It's the same story and missions as before, but if you are aiming to take down the secret ultimate boss, you may want to do a few playthroughs to be up to snuff. Having a breezy 10 to 15 hour time to beat with bite-sized missions literally designed to be completed in a few minutes at a time does make consecutive playthroughs and 100% completion more appetizing, especially with the added features to skip cutscenes and a dash button to speed through levels. But if you are a trophy hunter or an achievement hunter, make sure you save in multiple slots because there are so many that you can permanently miss during a single playthrough, and there is no chapter select to go back. That is an unfortunate oversight. It's a shame that Reunion didn't come with a built-in photo mode like Final Fantasy VII Remake has, to admire these awesome views as well as the super detailed character models. A photo mode always has me coming back to games, and I really enjoy taking photos in Remake. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is an enjoyable game that strives to be more than a remaster. The incredibly thoughtful, modernized gameplay and striking visual improvements to give excellent synergy with Remake unfortunately end up bringing forth an awkward inconsistency as this glorious renovation is built on a foundation 3 gaming generations old. I really wish that the same attention was given to updating the writing and cutscenes to further bring parity with the quality that fans have come to expect from a Final Fantasy VII title. As long as you go in knowing that this is indeed still a PSP remastered game at its core, I am confident that you will have a great time. Crisis Core Reunion tells an essential story to the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, but most specifically, the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, as its characters will undoubtedly play a crucial part in the story moving forward. For that reason alone, I would highly recommend it as a must-play to all fans of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you have fond memories of the PS2 era games like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X, well, Crisis Core Reunion would be a great fit for you as your first Final Fantasy VII experience. Just keep in mind, it does reveal the mysteries of the original Final Fantasy VII, but will not at all spoil your enjoyment of Final Fantasy VII Remake's story when you play that next. Because you will play it next, because once you're in, baby. Thank you for watching this review. And another sincere thank you to Square Enix for providing a game code. To be recognized for our dedication and passion for Final Fantasy through the content we make is a truly special moment for us. We will continue to embrace our dreams. As some of you know, those dreams are to receive a review code from Final Fantasy XVI next year, as well as attend E3 2023 with media badges to bring you Final Fantasy coverage from the show floor. This was a major motivator for us. It all feels within reach now, and that is exciting. Without any spoilers, I will now answer the question if Crisis Core Reunion has any story changes. If you wish to not know the answer to this, I want to thank you so much for watching. Crisis Core Reunion does not change or alter the story in significant ways. There are some occasional moments added in, such as this scene from literally the end of the first chapter of the game, so it shouldn't be considered as a spoiler. This gives you an idea of what to expect. Have a look at this comparison.
What's with Angeal? How long is he gonna slack off like this? It's already been a month. Sephiroth's no help either. Lumping Angeal together with Genesis Genesis is a deserter who took a bunch of seconds and thirds along with him. He used copies of himself to attack us. Angeal wouldn't condone something like that. His soldier honor means way too much to him. Everything's so messed up now. Angeal, just come back to us.
Soldier second class, Zach.
That would be me. Who is this?
Director Lazard wants to see you. Go to the briefing room.
Hey, wait! Who was that?
Take care now. Bye-bye then.